Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente here with another Astrology Unplugged, starself.com out of Pittsburgh. We're ready to go tonight. Tonight's subject is this thing called Project 2025. And if you've never heard of it, there are many disgruntled people from the last election in the United States who have formed their own lineage. Oh, I'm gonna have to do some muting here. Excuse me 1 second. Yeah, I get feedback sometimes. Anyhow, there are people that have kind of created their own uh, Declaration of Independence and their own constitution, and it's very frightening. But anyhow, how many people can tell we're going to do astrology? How many people can tell that really weird things are happening with the planets?
Yeah.
A lot of people here can't tell, huh? Okay. Well, I'll tell you, and it's not because they're normal planets. You cannot get this kind of feeling. Here's John Stegall. You cannot get this kind of weird feeling from just the normal outside planets. It doesn't happen. It's from Eris plus the planets. Now, when you get all that together, you've got something there because you've got tremendous power involved. And we're going to investigate that tonight. Now, I've been wondering about when Mars and Uranus, which are approaching each other, I wonder when they're going to hit each other, and it's going to be Monday morning, coming up Monday morning. So that's the chart we're going to study tonight, is the chart of coming Monday morning. I think it's the 15th. If I get the frog out of my throat. Why are we studying that? Because Mars is the trigger. Mars triggers everything. And Mars doesn't do a whole lot by itself, but when it hits other things, especially other things that are under tension, put two and two together. So we're going to go right to the chart, which is this. Let me try. I don't know. I get on here, take my glasses off, and then I wonder why I can't see it. Okay, here's the chart. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, this is a chart of coming Monday morning about 9 a.m. in Washington, D.C. You will notice that Mars and Uranus are exactly together. You will notice that Mars and Uranus are exactly to the minute together at that time. So when you go to investigate what is the nature of a conjunction, because a conjunction means so many things, it it definitely means the end of a cycle and a beginning of a new one. And in this case, since Mars goes around every 2 years and Uranus every
84.
84, that's right. Thank you, Rick. In other words, Mars about every year and a half, Mars goes over Uranus. So when they conjoin, it's like a birth. It's like a birth. It's like a birth. And if you do a chart for that moment, it tells you what that period is like. So I'll tell you right now, this is extremely explosive, extremely. And we're really lucky that this is happening in Taurus and not in Aries or in Gemini or in Leo or in Aquarius or in Scorpio. Now, what does that mean to you? What it means to you is put your finger on your chart where Taurus is. Put it where 26 Taurus is. Okay? Well, that's right on my girlfriend's descendant. Oh my God, that means me. Okay, now. What does Mars Uranus do? Well, it's about replacing your gas pedal with a great big gas pedal. That's what it's like with M80s underneath it. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Now, you see, there's this tendency in astrology with human beings to take it all so negatively. By itself, this is not negative.
I like the idea
Okay?
that
What's that?
I said I like the idea of the flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor. Oh, God. Oh, we'll play that someday.
That's a
Oh,
good one.
man. That guy kept that straight face. How he did that. Uh, uh, look up Rockwell International on YouTube and you'll get what we're talking about. It's about this 4 or 5 minute clip of this guy talking absolute nonsense called the flux capacitor. But anyhow, Mars and Uranus hit something. If you've got a planet here, and I've got Venus at 28, Scorpio, right opposite, then these two planets are going to get exploded by this. Why are they Mars Uranus going to explode them? You see, there's so many misgivings about this. It's not that it's going to explode it, it's going to activate it. And if two planets or any planet or any house is just sitting there inside of you, I don't care who you are or what it is, inside of you, there's a part of you that wants to activate that part, wants to activate it. These planets represent centers in you, like shoots I've told you about out of a plant. It wants to activate it. And when Mars hits something, it really is, how about right now? Its other option is, how about right now? Boom. That's how Mars works. No tomorrow. How about right now? That's why it rules Aries. So this conjunction that's coming, it's going to stay with us about 18 months or so. On Monday for the United States, remember this is the chart for the US. If you want to do this chart for everybody, you would do it for London, England, at 0 degrees, and that would give you the different houses. But anyhow, what does this mean? Well, it means the president gets up and calls the president of another country the president of Russia. Gets everything all confused and crazy. All right. If you are frustrated, if you are holding yourself back, you are in trouble. Not so much if you're frustrated, but if you're holding yourself back and you call it stuck, then you're in trouble. Because there ain't no stuck. There's only holding on and letting go. There's holding on and letting go. So this planet is symbolic of boom, let's let go. Boom, let's let go. Now, where people get confused is they think that these planets are going to come do this thing to them. And it will look that way, but that's not how it is. How it is the part of you that wants to boom is going to boom. Are you going to get a nice, pretty little flowerette, looking at the sun, or are you going to get some warp looking crazy thing? That depends on how much you've been repressing it or not. It's not complicated. If you've been repressing it, you know yourself when you talk to your friends how many people are holding things in. And you tell them, you better start letting things out. It's going to blow up. You better let things out. You talk to your purple in the face, right? Deborah from Wisconsin. I'm announcing who's coming out of the waiting room. Okay, so in this chart, in the sign of Taurus, this is symbolic of Taurus for all of us. Taurus is about my sense of worth. Now, where a lot of people are going to have changes with their money and their collections and those old things about Taurus. But the real factor about Taurus is you're going to want to launch forward an unfettered definition of who you are and how you are acceptable. And I had a dream last night. Come to think of it, I was with 5 women in a circle, and they were psychiatrists and stuff, and they were all trying to make me look bad and make me feel bad, and I didn't know why. And at the end of the dream, I just went, look, I'm not that bad. I got my issues like everybody, but I told them all, go look at your own issues. Don't bother me about it. So that's what's going on with these. You should all be feeling this now. Central to all of this is this explosion inside of yourself that wants to say, I'm fine the way I am. I'm fine the way I am. I'm being very aggressive on purpose because that's what these energies are like. We haven't even got to the rest of the chart. The rest of the chart is incredible. How many people are feeling things like that in their life? This feeling of, I've got to let out this feeling of me. Okay, keep your hands up, please. Okay, we got 3. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, about half the folks. Okay, a little bit over half. So it is time to do that. Now, when you mix 2 dangerous planets like Mars and Uranus together, they're dangerous because they're explosive. I've never seen my girlfriend cut her finger before. She's had a band-aid on for 4 days now. She cut herself pretty good, doggone it. Cutting yourself, guns, car wrecks, robberies. These things are very common with Mars and Uranus because Uranus has these wild, harebrained ideas sometimes, and Mars is just, I don't care what it is, just go do it. Just go do it. Just go do it. Okay. Now, what this really is nationally, this is a testing time. It is a time for the US to say to the world that we're okay the way we are. We need to stop putting ourselves down and put ourselves forward. In this chart in particular, it's in the 9th house because the chart is calculated for Washington, D.C. The 9th house is overseas, it's long-term government, it is opinions, it is policy, etc. So this is very much tied to the question of, is the United States using its energy, especially its aggressive energies, properly or not? And you'll notice who asks that question all the time, but Pluto. So you're going to see this question is really coming to the front. And I made a note here, which I seldom do, but I've been watching these pre-presidential commercials. And what they're doing is they're trying to scare the hell out of everybody.
Mhm.
Just trying to scare you. Oh, and they're going to rape you and they're going to take your money and they're going to crawl over your fence and take your house and take your job. And boy, it's just the same old GOP type of intelligence that we've been here to expect in the past 30, 40 years. In other words, scare the hell out of the Cancerian Americans and they'll vote for you. Why? Why do they vote for you? Because you'll keep us safe. Because you'll keep us safe. Because you will keep us safe. I will vote for you no matter what. Now you have Ronald Reagan wrapped up in one little cigar with his Cancerian wife Nancy. I'll vote for Ronnie. I don't care if he's an actor or what. He will keep us safe because he seems so strong. That's where we're caught. We're caught with these leaders that seem strong, that seem to make sense. I'm not saying this is what pro Biden. I mean, I think we have 300 million other choices that we need to nominate somebody else beside these 2. But anyhow, the point is with Mars Uranus, don't get lost in this. You have to stand up for yourself now. You. The country has to, but you individually, because Mars represents the self in astrology, Mars, Uranus, and Taurus. You've come to a crisis point where you have to stand up for yourself and your self-worth. That's what this chart is based upon. Rick, I don't want
Yes.
to I don't want to knock you off base, but I just wondered if you had some comment about this type of thing.
Oh, yeah. Mars is uh lighting any fuse that's around.
Lighting any fuse that's around. Boy, that's really well put.
And Uranus, that could be a nuclear fuse.
It could be, yeah.
And I don't mean physical nuclear, but
Right.
it's really soul stirring and agitating because it's all about freedom and rebellion.
That's exactly right.
So if anything happens to be going on with Eris, Mars Uranus energy is going to add to it.
Okay, what do you see? Oh, we got a little moon opposite Eris. Oh, we got a entire bucket pattern with the moon in Scorpio opposite Eris. Oh, we got Eris square to the sun. We have Eris square to Pluto. Oh, we got Sun, Pluto, both square to Uranus. So I don't even know how to even talk about this chart. With what Rick brought up, I really like that sentence about lighting any what it's going to walk around any fuses it sees anywhere, just going to light them. Okay, now you can't look at this like this is the end of the world. Could be, but you can't look at it that way. But you have to look at it. The big problem about this is the big problem about tonight's discussion is how many people are going to continue to put their head in the sand. It's that simple. I've been talking for 7 years now on this program about this stuff. 7 years. Warnings doesn't seem to do much because you don't see much activity. I mean, you're seeing a lot of underground stuff happening, which is really enchanting and exciting and um, kind of calms you down to watch it a little bit. But take a look at this chart. This is an unbelievable chart. You feel free to chip in, Rick. Um, this chart is a great big bucket. And one of the reasons things have been so moody for the past year is all these planets have been traveling together. And one at a time, the moon comes out, goes across by itself. Then it goes back into the group like a half a circle. It stays in a half circle. Then the moon comes back every 2 weeks. And then when any planet goes through this territory, it becomes the handle of the whole bucket. So whatever planet has come out to this area, such as the moon in Scorpio, it gives the flavor to the event. And this flavor of this chart is serious, serious, and ultra serious.
And Sun Pluto is another very nuclear, powerful thing.
Very nuclear,
The
yes.
sun being very much soulful,
Right.
and the Pluto connecting to the masses. Everybody is being stirred by this emotional moon T square with the Eris Chiron healing of injustice.
That's right.
That's a powder keg.
Well, it's like a trucks full of powder kegs. That's how big this is. So what does this mean? What it means is so many levels. Where do you start your translation? It means that we earthlings have got to come together. We as a collective, I don't care if you're European, Australian, American, I don't care. We've got to come together. because this chart is a too late chart. This chart doesn't need anything more than a little bit of static electricity to explode.
Yes.
Now, when you got something like this through experience, you're going to get explosions whether you want them or not. You're going to get explosions on all kinds of levels. Each of you in your life, with your relatives, with your job, you're all going to have them. Some will be rather good, some will be rather bad, some will be rather neutral, which is common. But you're going to see nationwide, worldwide, these explosives happening. Now, one of the things that's so critical about this when you add everything up, the rest of the world is tired of the United States controlling everything. And Americans don't want to hear that. Americans don't want to hear that. Claudia, ideas, thoughts? I knock anything loose in your upper bridge there?
So I was, I've been thinking about this a lot for me personally and then for the world. I have no idea, but I realized today that there's like a story that's unfolding here. For us here, we have this conjunction at a really critical time, and we have the two presidential debates that are coming in the fall on an eclipse. They're both going to happen not exactly on the day of the eclipse, but a day after or before. And then we looked at the chart of the election day. This story is like, this trigger is the young people say is triggering. Like it's very much the beginning, I think, of something really drastic that may need to happen in order for people to get jolted.
I think you could call it earth shattering.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I just think it's potential for war is around the corner. It's already here.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
And then for me personally, I really have to kind of ground myself because I have a 27-degree Taurus ascendant. And if this was me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would be like nervous. But I have to live my life and I have to live it in a way that is true to myself. And it's not the best way to use Uranus.
Yeah, that's
so,
right.
you know, I don't know, but I do know that it's waking people up, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, because the thing that really sticks out now is we can no longer sit back and just relax. This is the United States, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah,
Uh-uh,
right.
uh-uh. Not in this chart. You got the sun opposite Pluto. What is that? That's a major, major identity crisis coming to a head. Major identity crisis. Why? Because of our self-worth. What's wrong with our self-worth? It's been overinflated.
Hmm.
Okay, I told you, I saw a group like us talking one day, and we're talking about trouble here and there. And one woman said, yeah, but we're America. Well, hey, what the heck? Well, we're America.
Yep.
And I can see the planet's going, oh, we can't do this because that's American soil. Let's go to Ecuador or something.
Right.
Okay. But anyhow, this, whether you're gathering with twos or ones, or in your family, or in your town, or in your nation, whatever this is, we got to get off of our collective butts and look at each other and value each other and say, my God, it's so good to have each other. It's so good to have each other to talk to and confer with. This is extremely valuable, but we got to get televisions turned off. The TVs are killing us. Keep the money, rolling in, rolling in, rolling in, rolling in, rolling in, rolling in. I don't care. Drug commercial, drug commercial, drug commercial. My God, we live in this tiny little town, and we have 5 pharmacists on duty at the pharmacy. 5.
Wow.
Everybody's just going. Well, the point is all this that this is not an American type of issue, but it needs to become one. This is time for us to awaken our own power within ourselves. And we're not good at it because we're a cancer country. We're waiting for someone else to do it. We're waiting to get behind mom and dad to do it. We're waiting to get behind the American flag to do it. We're waiting for whatever. And we've got to get behind our own self to do it. So you take a look at this chart. This chart is it's one of the most astounding I've ever seen. One of when you really add it all up and put it into a realistic picture. Back here on this chart, you've got Saturn and Neptune, which are kind of close together. They're 10 degrees apart. These are 2 in Pisces. These are 2 very strong spiritual planets, and they're kind of keeping an eye on things. So you see an underlying spirituality that we do have that's working in our favor. Now, you see this phenomenal amount of stress on Eris and Chiron. Eris and Chiron. Well, they're both in Aries. Oh, man. When they're both in Aries, and especially with Chiron involved, they're about what are you doing to get off your butt to solve things? What are you doing? We're not going to be happy with just growing our own garden. We're not going to be happy with just raising our one kid. This is not going to work anymore. We cannot continue with Cancerian philosophies of I'll hide behind my family and I'll be safe. Because you're not going to be. Are you safe now? No. You got a bucket pattern. The whole bucket, the entire bucket is swinging from a moon in Scorpio. Where do you think the moon is in the GOP chart? In Scorpio. Where do you see this group once they lose an election? They don't roll over and put their paws up in the air. They roll over and get vicious. That's what you're saying. The moon in Scorpio does not take defeat lightly, and that's what this 2025 article is about. We might lose, but we're not going to admit it's a loss. We're going to take down the winners. We're going to do whatever we're going to do. They're talking so Arisian. That's what they're saying. No matter what happens, we're going to end up winning, no matter what the cost. That is the nature of Eris. And it's about time you astrologers out there get with it and start putting Eris on your charts and looking at it. Rub your chin a little bit. Because when you look at basic Eris, that's what she does. She will not put up with losing. Trump's chart, all his planets are here. Eris is over here. All the planets. One circle, Eris over by itself. Mars and Leo rising. Do you see? This is why the more you agitate him, the bigger he gets. It's like a puffer fish. The more you get it, the bigger it gets. You poke it, it gets bigger. The ego just grows on this stuff. So I know I'm excitable tonight, but I really don't care. I really don't care because I know you all feel very similar, and I'm trying to activate and generate that part of you. And I guess what I'm really saying to you tonight is this thing that's coming in 4 days or so is very real. It's very real. And these don't just pass by like a little dandelion. They don't just pass by in a couple of days. This is symbolic of era changing, fundamental plate tectonics. That's what this is. I had a translation tonight come through email from Brad, our good friend from the Mesa, and He said I could use it, and I decided not to because he was translating it very accurately, and I didn't think that any of those words would get past the YouTube editor. But it was all about the end of the paternal dominance. The end of paternal dominance. We got to get rid of paternal and maternal and make it one urnal. No, I don't know what else to call it, but I'm kind of out of breath for the moment. So let me hear from some of you others who please have some opinions. Here comes my former wife. Wow, y'all get to meet Anne. I'm so glad she's here. Oh, she didn't like me calling my ex. So this is my wonderful Anne. And she should be popping up on the screen any second. Maybe she's turning her camera off. I don't know. But it's good to have you with us, Anne. And everybody, I was opening the floor up to you because I mean I can go on and on and on about this chart, but that's what this chart is saying. And boy, have I been watching closely lately. When Pluto is around you, it's so simple, and I've told you so many times, if you try, Pluto will support you and back you up and pull miracles out of the wind. And if you don't try, Pluto will put you to a stop, sometimes gently. So that's what's going on now. We have to take action now, according to me, how I feel, what I'm doing on my show. What are you doing on your show? Because there's so many people that have been watching Fox for so long, and they've lost their brains. Come on, other thoughts, other ideas. Come on, Renate. Come, I muted you. You're not muted now. Let's hear from everybody now.
So I'm feeling for personal. I have Uranus sextile Jupiter, and Mars will come on Monday.
Right.
I feel at the moment like completely newborn.
Yeah, that's a very good transit. Yes.
In the 9th house, I want to travel, and I got my permanent resident card after 4 weeks instead of 4 months, and I'm just starting to look where I can go, and I want to go in far.
Okay, let me ask you the question. Why do you want to go?
Because I feel that.
Yeah, but that's not a good enough answer. Why do you want, what's the reason you want to go?
I want to get out of here.
It's not just that. Yeah, but you see what you just heard? I want to get out of there. This has nothing to do with her body in that chair. She wants to get out of there. That's what's happening. That's the essence of it. She wants out of there. We all want out of there. You read all these help books about how we can get ourselves developed, how we can flourish, how we can get out and maintain our strength. That's the same thing she's saying. God bless her. I think it's fantastic. The fact that she's feeling this and she's going with it is really good. And that means that this whole transit is going to really lean in favor of supporting her. She's going to get support. Why? Because she's helping herself. Why? Because she's helping herself. What?
Rick, spiritual. I had an encounter with Jesus. I had a holy encounter with a friend in a. So it's on the spiritual basis is something happening.
Yeah,
too.
but it's the spiritual basis governs everything. Applause for Renate. That's fantastic, Renate. That's a wonderful thing to hear. Now, that has to happen at your individual level, your family level, and a country level, and worldwide. Other people, thank you, Renate. Peggy, what are you thinking of? Peggy, Rick, Claudia?
I talked to you recently, and the Uranus is in my 7th house square Pluto Mars on my midhaven, and then if you take all of this, lay it on my chart, I am feeling, I've always been interested in health and everything, and now I have found the answer to my health. I found these people and I'm using their supplements and I've lost weight. I feel good. I have energy. I'm studying the homeopathic. I want to, in the years to come, possibly share all this knowledge with other people so they can become healthy. If you don't feel good, all this that's going on is just going to impact you even more. And I think if you feel good and you sleep well and you lose that weight and you eat well, then you can take on a lot of things and think more clearly and benefit yourself and change your life around. So
See,
this
that's the reason that Virgo, which Peggy is right below the descendant in the chart. That's why it's the sixth sign about to become Libra, because she's giving you all the tips to grow properly, all the tips to get your life moving in gear properly. Virgo's very much a sign of being preparative. Is that the word? Preparative. I don't know.
Girl Scout.
Girl Scouts, yeah, that's right. And when the soul crosses into Libra, things change a lot. But you can
Girl
see
Scout leader.
Girl Scout later, but you can see how natural these influences come through us. You heard them coming right through Renate. You heard them coming right through Peggy. She and I had a reading recently, and she was real excited about all the turning points she was having with health and moving forward. Why is it happening to her? It's not, well, we've been holding back on her for 12 years. We better start making it a little better. Well, I don't know. She suffered enough there, Bill. What do you think? No, it's because she's opened her own pathway.
Well,
Opened her own
Pluto's the
pathway.
driving force. It's pushing me and I'm letting go.
Okay,
I'm holding on,
let's try this.
letting go, and
Your Pluto's doing what?
it's giving me the answers. I
Your
don't know.
your Pluto is doing what in terms of how it feels?
It's letting me go, let loose of my Virgo way of like, I gotta control everything. And now it's like, if I let go and I just say, I need the help and let go, it's coming from everywhere.
Okay, what
And
I
it's
will make
everything I wanted.
I will add one little correction to that. Pluto
Okay.
does not come through and let you go. That's Uranus's job.
No, it's not letting me go, but it's
Yeah, but I'm talking
giving me
about
what I need.
I'm talking about which
Yeah.
planet it is. It's not Pluto.
Okay.
It's Uranus.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Uranus liberates us. Uranus
No,
liberates
I
us.
got a lot of that. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm real happy for you. I know you got 4 planets in Leo, and they're gonna all get hit by Uranus, and you're halfway
Yeah.
through them, and you're gonna have a lot of excitement. And I hope to keep seeing you on this show in the near future.
I think so.
Chuck, what's going on with you? I know you do a lot of lecturing with CEOs, etc. What's happening with you and the mindsets of these people that sit behind a suit and tie and act so cool? What's
Well, I don't know I don't know that I think that there's always, if you kind of look at a distribution of different people, that it's the same whether it's with CEOs of companies or not, because there's
That's
people that
right.
there's really a lot of people that are really high integrity folks that are kind of deeply there. I think, as I'm listening to the conversation and thinking about things, what is occurring in my mind is I'm wondering about, particularly when you talk about this big shift, right? Is that so many people have gotten attached, their awareness has gotten attached to a way of thinking, right? That they've attributed to be truth, and I'm kind of wondering if this isn't a time that's going to kind of really kind of allow for an expansion of awareness to say, what you thought was true is not true, and therefore it's time to detach from all of that connection. Because if you have a deep philosophy, if you think that the truth is one way, reality it's not. I mean,
That's
it's
really good, Chuck. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what, I'm, as I listen to everybody talking and listen to you in terms of the planets and thinking about what I'm experiencing, I've been working really hard at trying to be a little more detached and being,
Okay, now you
or
talked.
more of a panoramic view of what's going on and not
Okay,
getting
well, you're
deep into
good at
one.
that, but you talk to a lot of business leaders, and
Yeah.
you and I've been talking for at least 12 years or so. What in general is happening to these people that you're talking to? Do you notice in general that these people's minds are opening?
Oh, I think so. I think that there's a lot of, of leaders that are out there that are kind of thinking about, um, to me, the general sense is growth is what's driving them, right? But the shift in growth is not as much always financial, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's shifting to other things that are more meaningful, more purposeful, more transformative around what they might be able to do, what they might be able to accomplish
Right.
by being leaders of business and financial. And to me, I always felt that when you kind of approach it that way, money will, the money will eventually follow. But I see that kind of shift, at least in the circles that I'm working with, right? Is that uniform across the board? I don't know, but I definitely see a lot more folks that are kind of,
Do you have a lot of people that are aware of, well, what we've been doing ain't working?
well, I think that there's a lot of people that are kind of standing back thinking that, they're wondering the economic outlook, for our country from a forecast point of view is really maybe not just our country, but even global. As we get closer to 2030 is really, I'd use the way that you're talking about what's going to happen on Monday. That concept right now, if we stay on the course that we're on and things don't change, that kind of explosiveness, that type of change is going to be very significant around 2030. And when I look at a variety of different things, and I haven't really looked at the planets with you to kind of get to that sense, but a lot of the economic factors and demographic factors and a whole other series of perspectives kind of lean towards a big shift and change that's going to come to a head in some sort over the next few years.
Okay,
So I'm wondering
what do you think when you see the flavor of this church being so much about repairing my self-confidence, repairing my self-image? How does that project onto the business world?
hmm.
Or in other words, are you teaching techniques to these different companies so that they can, I would think, take more stop and look and take more appreciation of their own employees as opposed to worrying about the curve
Well, I think
outside?
that shift has been happening for the
That's
last,
wonderful. That's
that
really,
shift has been happening for the
that's
last
very good.
several years. And the reality is right now we're in a little bit of a trough because the thing, with the inflation being high and the economy kind of evolving, we've been on a decelerating rate of growth through this year, pretty much as expected. We haven't not entered into a recession of any sort, but the predictions have been based on the data that fourth quarter, first quarter of next year, we get back into a growth cycle. Well, what's going to happen once we start in that growth cycle again, though, is we've got a talent issue in our country and so in other parts of the world too, a talent issue. We don't have people with the right skills to be able to effectively do what needs to get done in the right numbers. And so anytime you have a supply demand imbalance, it always has a certain outcome. In this case, we're going to get tight again in the labor market. Meaning, and I mean by labor, I mean all roles, whether they're executive roles or they're entry level kind of roles, right? It's going to get tight again at some point next year. And my concern is that's going to begin to compete, and the old systems aren't working, because what that will do if labor gets tight is start pushing wages up. And if wages get pushed up, that's going to drive inflation. And if inflation goes up, interest rates are going to have to go up. And all of a sudden, the traditional ways of doing things are going to be to try to slow that down. And I don't see a way to be able to kind of fix it, given all of the complexity that's going on. Right?
Counterbalance. Well,
Yeah.
that's really excellent stuff, Chuck. Thank you very much. That's really some good insights. What's happening down under? What's happening down under you down there?
Well, and this is looking at Australia on a whole sort of holistic way, in the sense that, like, I suppose, like everywhere, there's financial restriction. There's, everyone's really hunkering down and not.
Is that right?
Well, there's a real sense. It's like, I'm a local government councillor, and our council is a little rural council, and it's really like we have to bring everything in and bring our budget down and do less, and that's happening right across the state. I'm in Victoria, and then it must be happening for the rest of Australia too, and even the state government. So we have a state government. They're restricting, they're not giving out as much funding to councils, and the same with the federal Australian government. They're still spending lots of money, but they're just not doing. There's a sense that services to the community have to be brought in, and that's not a fabulous thing.
What are you noticing by chance, since we're going to transcend the USA here? What are you noticing on the individual level of people in Australia? I've always learned that Australians are really self-made people. They're rough and tough. They're not real dependent. Do you see a change going on with that?
I do. I suppose I see. Yeah, people still push through the toughness, but there is still there's a real sense of, and it's winter here, and that always brings people down a bit. But there are things like restaurants are closing in Melbourne, I hear. We're sort of okay because we literally have like pubs and pub food and little takeaways. So they're all staying open. But there's this real.
Why are they closing?
Again, because cost of living, people aren't going out and eating as much.
And
they're not going out to restaurants.
It's so expensive too.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm personally finding is what we were talking about earlier, is that I'm in this sense of freedom at the moment. There's something, maybe it's because I'm in my 60s and I'm sort of semi-retired, but there's this lovely sense for me of, well, like you were saying, of it. I feel like it's a different me. I feel like I have a rebirth as well. It's this sort of sense that, and also when you talked about turning the television off, because I'm spending more time, and even if it's only 20 minutes, going and sitting on a veranda in the sun.
Yeah,
and it's like my mind,
yeah,
is of course got room to think about things and to create. It's just this lovely sense of, okay, I don't have to rush and go to work and do all that sort of stuff. I'm lucky that I can, I've just got a few meetings I go to. But yeah, so I feel like there's this. But though, Rick, can I just say, I feel like I'm also.
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like I'm on the outer, but do we all feel that? I feel like there's not a lot of people in my circle that I relate to.
Yeah, I think we could say that. Now, there's one thing that needs to be said here, because you're all at a disadvantage unless you've been studying astrology for a while. But there's when you study through the years, there's a tendency to run into these types of periods, although I've never seen a period like this ever. I will say there's a tendency to get overly gloomy, and somehow we make it through. Somehow we get through it. Somehow we keep our heads up. Somehow we believe in each other enough. But there are so many indicators right now that mean it's dire. We need to do this. Thank you, Jane. It was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's hear from Susan or Rick or Claudia.
I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but for the last few weeks and really now, I feel like I've got super hyped up ADD. I
Yeah,
feel like I can't
Yeah.
focus on any one
that's
thing.
the Mars approaching Uranus. That will get much more severe by Monday. You give it time, let it go. After Tuesday, Wednesday, that'll start to fade a little.
It's like if I have to read the ingredients on a package,
Yeah,
I can't focus.
I'm
Like I have
saying-
no patience for this shit.
That-
You know,
That's
excuse me.
exactly
Oh.
what I've been doing. Yeah. How do you make a playlist on YouTube? I don't know.
No.
Should be
So how-
easy, but it's not.
Let me ask a question about this, if I may, because I've had the same thing leading up till the last few days. But in the last few days, all of a sudden, I've been able to get really focused on things, et cetera. So how do you make sense out of that?
Well,
Out
we
of
have to,
taking
we
the
have to look
focus?
at we have to look at your chart. But
Yeah.
if you're getting, excuse me, some other planets at work.
Yeah. Something else is
Excuse-
kind of offsetting the other
Excuse me
thing.
while I cough.
Or it could be a discipline that you've grown over over your life. A discipline from your potential can always offset difficulty.
Mhm.
That's why you were given that opportunity to develop certain things.
Can I also
Rick, you're muted.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan. You're finishing something.
I have Pluto at 26 Leo. That's kind of generational.
That's right.
But
So
it's
I don't
also
know how
in
that affects
square.
all of this.
It's also in square to where that Uranus Mars is.
Is that what you call that in flare?
Square.
Oh, square.
Because she has it.
Yeah.
She has
Oh.
it in Leo, and right
Well,
now,
yeah, she's right. It's generational and it's individual. It's both.
right.
Yeah. Don't you laugh at me, Claudia. I mean, I'll put the spotlight on you now.
Oh, goodness. Well,
Oh, goodness.
hmm,
Yeah, but
I
you,
feel a little bit like I can relate to both of them, Susan and Chuck, because I have been quite scattered mentally. I mean,
Yeah.
if I read this and I start to, I have to read it over and over again. It's terrible. And I've been trying to use my phone less. I've been trying to stay off social media. I've been trying, in fact, it forced me to pick up this book. I don't have it right here. It's called Deep Work. And the book is about our culture really not being, it's very difficult to focus for
Yeah.
long periods of time
Mo-
because that's the way we live today.
Well, we
You
have
know,
Uranus on the
Focus is
descendant.
not
in Gemini.
encouraged.
say it again.
Deep
We have
focus
Uranus in Gemini on the descendant. Go ahead, Rick.
deep focus is not encouraged in our culture.
No.
It would lead to critical thinking, and the powers that be
Yes.
don't like that.
Thinking for yourself? What?
What's wrong with you guys?
So
Like anarchy.
yeah, I do feel this Uranus big time on my ascendant, and I do feel, because I tend to get really like this, and I may not present that way, but I am. And I've been trying to meditate, get back into meditation, because I realize my nervous system is going to get like, blah, and I won't be able to control it. And I know that, and that's fine. But I feel, here's what I feel, and probably for all of us as well, it's this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And it's really, depending on how you use that urgency, it can be really helpful. It can be really, really helpful to you living your life the way you really, really want to, as opposed to thinking about it, talking about it, writing about it, but really doing it. There's also a sense of, all of a sudden, time's running out, time's running out. But I think we're all going through our own version of this in our own unique way. And frankly, I need it. I know I need it.
I wonder what's going to happen to nationalism.
Mm,
Well, I think with the Sun Pluto opposition
Right.
triggering Cancer and Capricorn as they are at the moment, that is totally putting at odds the the family, the tribe, the family, the tribe, and they're just ready to rally. And then you have Uranus Mars that, depending on your development, you will either experience the frayed nerves or incredible energy for creativity and innovation.
Or joining the renegades.
Well, yeah, and that's another part of the frayed nerves. Yeah.
I tell you what, in Southwest Pennsylvania, we have a lot of pickup trucks. We got a lot of weapons, and we got a lot of nervous people. We got a lot of signs put up in people's yards with misspelled words.
mm-hmm.
Come on now, Susan, I didn't give you much of a chance here to get your thoughts and opinions, and I know you're always really good. We're trying to spread the time here.
No, I mean, Scorpio is opposite. Personally, I have stuff in Scorpio, but it's 10 degrees away. It shouldn't be an issue for me. The only thing that I'm aware of is that severe ADD at this point. I noticed this morning when driving, being very irritable about all the stupid drivers out there.
That's the Mars Uranus. And if you think the Pluto is not affecting you from 8 degrees away, then you need to look a little closer. Because even though it's at 2 degrees and your Pluto or your Scorpio planet's at 10 degrees, it's still hitting it because it's just started to send those shock waves through that area of the chart. That area of the chart became very passive and facile for quite a while. And now when that's why when these planets ingress, when they cross right into the new sun, that's why it's boom, it's so heavy. Because those shock waves, even though they're fixed signs and they're the slowest, they're the most like molasses, they still get their shock waves sent to you. And have you not noticed new Uranian energy that's been coming through you?
Well, okay, so I've had a lot of changes over the last several weeks.
Right.
And in the last 3 weeks, I got rid of a car, bought another car. I mean, I've been doing all kinds of things. There's been a lot happening.
Well, that's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about. Then you're saying, well, Pluto's not causing much change.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, but I mean, it's not negative.
Yeah, but you nailed it right on the head. Pluto is not a negative planet.
Right.
Right.
It's not, we got to all remember that. It's a powerful release of our passions, but if they're not released, then it becomes negative. Because it's not because Pluto turns against you, it's because we turn against ourselves.
I do feel more creative. The hard part is reining it in and doing one thing at a time and finishing it before going on to the next.
Yeah, but you're not going to with the moon in Gemini and the sun in Sagittarius. That's just not your nature. So go do them all and have fun doing them. You're just not going to.
You've worked with that type of creativity that wants to jump in different places.
Right.
Let's go ahead and
stay
with something until you have a block, and then go to a different project where the energy flows.
Right. Yeah.
Wherever the energy flows, follow it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. What you don't do is say, no, stop that boat, doggone it, turn that boat, Get back in
What
the
what I
right
tend
space.
to do is, I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I'll see somebody's amazing artwork and ooh, she's using ink in a new way. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden I gotta get it and do it and try it.
That's exactly what your nature is.
That's
Yeah.
growth.
That's your power. Don't deny it. When you go with your power, other sprouts will come from it.
And Jupiter's on it right now, which is, it's
Right.
going to expand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you'll find, Susan, if you start going with your flow, which appears I'm leaving something unfinished, I'm leaving that unfinished. It appears that way. If you let that happen, you'll start bringing closure much more rapidly than you'd ever think.
Yeah.
You'll probably finish
think I
5
am-
things by focusing on all of them a
Yeah.
lot faster than you would 2.
That's right.
Yeah. And I am learning quite a bit.
Well, of course you are. You're probably
I'm getting a lot of practice with different things that have been tricky and difficult, and I'm getting better at them.
Now, the secret to Gemini, which you identify with strongly, is it looks like, to the outer eyeball, it looks like Gemini's wasting their time tiddling with this, tiddling with that, tiddling with that. That's what it looks like. And they can really bother Capricorns because we're not like that, and Virgos. But what you find out with Geminis is once they get to a brand new subject 5 years from now, they pick up that subject so quickly. The new subject is brand new. They pick it up quickly because they've picked up sub-subjects before, sub parts of it before, sub parts of it, and it gels very quickly.
Mhm.
Susan, have you ever heard of Uranus being the higher octave of Mercury?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, with Mercury ruling that Gemini and even the Virgo, if you resonate to the higher octave, you will flow into things that are new to you, but they tend to things in a brilliant way.
Yeah. And my Uranus and Jupiter are in Cancer 27 and 29. So they are trining, I guess, all the stuff that's going on in Taurus. So that might be a positive expression of the energy. I don't know.
Yeah.
One can hope.
Flow where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sextile, what you're talking about,
Right.
and it's
Oh, Taurus,
you're
yeah.
gonna have this. You're gonna
Balance.
have an opportunity that you'll have to put some effort into, but it'll be on your side. If you put a little effort on it it'll be on your side. Whereas like a trine, it may just land in your lap, but with sextiles, sextiles are great.
And
Yeah, and
work-wise,
that's
an
the way to put
opportunity
it.
has come my way too. So that's kind of nice.
And remember that an opportunity ignored will just be for nothing.
Right. Well, my son has a new business and he needs help getting estimates done. And it looks like I'm going to jump in and do a bunch of estimates for him.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, you have to think of these planets as if, I've told you many times, you're upstairs and you come down in the morning and the whole building seems different. The whole house feels different. The energy vibe is different. Just because each day those energies do shift.
Yeah.
And when it's a Uranian day, the whole place seems exciting and electric. And when it's a Plutonian day, it's very intense and strong. And none of it, very seldom anyway, very seldom, none of it is negative unto itself.
No, but there's always a lot of change. You were talking about your
Yeah,
dream.
but we cannot say change is negative.
No, my
That's
dream
what
that
you're inferring here.
No, my dream that I keep getting over and over again is the room and the building that I'm in the dream keeps changing and I keep finding new ways to get to where I want to go.
Yeah, but that's not talking at all about it being negative.
No, exactly. It's not. It's just change.
It's called a moon in Gemini you're talking to.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
Pluto,
like using all your paintbrushes. You just have to decide which one you need at the moment.
don't,
That's right.
don't you all know some Geminis that just blow your mind at how creative they are, and they're into this and into that, and they're the one of my favorite signs there is, because they can talk about any subject, and they're very verbose and entertaining. And then you got the Geminis that are kind of scattered. And
Yeah.
yeah, did you want to say something, Renate? I thought you were. Do you want to say something, dear?
You're on mute.
Oh. Yeah, actually, I was writing you something. I don't know if you read it. I forgot to say something miraculous really, really happened. After 2 years, I was not able to walk even 15 minutes, sometimes with excruciating pain. I can walk again without pain.
Oh, that's amazing.
Watch the aspects to your Mercury. That's what does it. That's wonderful news. Wonderful news.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
that's
What
great.
changed, Renate? What changed?
What do you
Mercury.
mean?
Mercury.
No,
No,
but was it feet? Was it knees? Was it back? What was it?
Knees, both of my knees. But in the 2 years, I never gave up to believing I can walk again one day. And
Oh, fantastic.
That's
I bought
wonderful.
I couldn't bike because of the knees. I bought a bike. I'm just full of plans now.
You're what, 80 years old?
85.
85.
Amazing.
Yes.
Oh my
No wonder she
God.
used to travel all over the place. Now she's got her wheels.
Talk to us, Deborah.
You're still muted, Deborah.
Yeah.
Unmute. Thank
As I
you.
recall, Renata is in her Uranus return.
Yeah,
That's
that's
So
right.
right.
she's
That's
got
right.
that going for her.
Oh, that's
But
massive. Boy, big,
me,
big.
I've been living with Uranus and Taurus, crossing my Mars at 23 degrees of Taurus. I mean, I'm just at a point where I'm just letting go and letting God.
There
And
you
I've
go.
been at the airport this past Saturday. I'll be there this Saturday. The Heritage Foundation has all their signage up.
Oh,
They're just
yeah.
waiting for the delegates to start showing up. And it is what it is, and that I don't know what else to do. I can't control anything. And so I just don't want to be bummed out about I take a little bit of an intellectual review of the politics. And within 20 minutes, I check in every day. I once told a group when we were doing, introductions and get acquainted, we were all asked to say, what's our superpower? And I said, mine is just showing up. So I'm
Well,
here.
you've got a glow.
Other than that, I don't have a lot to tell you or contribute.
You don't need to, because
So, and I show up
you have a nice
I show up.
glow, a positive glow about you that is very supportive to whatever's in the area. And that's a very Taurian thing, to provide the soil for everybody, the basis. That's what it's all about. Taurus is a very underrated sign. And I've often wondered what was Uranus going to do during its 7 years there. And I'm starting to finally learn it's had a lot to do with people's sense of self-worth. It's had a lot to do with how we anchor down or not. But I think one of the main things it did coming through Taurus is it has taught us that we can't keep depending on this and that and this and that. Every time we lean our elbow on something, it moves away. We've been taught to lean on stuff and depend on it. And the planets have taught us recently
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So what else is going? What else are you going to do when all the Democrats are in town?
Well, they're not coming to my town. They're coming to Chicago. That's
Oh,
90 miles south of
You
here.
got the
So
Republicans. Oh, that's even better.
yeah, no, they'll be here. You know, there's lots of people in the city who are excited about the economic impact of all these visitors and, you know, the media coming in and all of that. But it will come, it will go, and the sun will still rise in the morning, right? I mean,
all
I don't
things must
know.
pass.
Yeah.
Far be it for me to analyze.
Well, we can still get your
Yeah, yeah.
opinions.
And you know, if I were to about what? I'm sorry,
I don't know. You're breaking up on
did I
me, so I
lose
can
you?
hear your connection. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you for
I can't
all
tell
that.
what's going on
Rick,
here.
I was going to say we haven't heard from Dr. John yet.
I know I've invited him purposely, and for whatever reason, he may be busy with something else.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just listening in the background.
I,
He
I
he
I'll
gets
just throw a
busy.
thought out there quickly, and maybe he'll be on when I'm done. I look back at our thoughts on Pluto entering into Aquarius and how everything was Aries Taurus. And I think that's what we're feeling right now with this
That's right.
Chiron and Eris, where it is in Aries, and then you have that Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus. It's kind of triggering what was set up in Pluto, so that we're going to definitely be called to evolve.
That's exactly right. I was just listening to a Steely Dan song, which starts with "This is the night of the expanding man."
Yep.
They're
Yeah,
really, huh?
that's a great song.
Yeah, I mean that's really a great
It's a
line.
great song.
Yeah, and a great line.
Yeah.
What a way to put it. Liza and I have been sitting here marveling at them. We've been revisiting their music and just marveling at how smooth they were.
Yes.
They are.
Yep.
Who else? We got 13 minutes left. Who else has things to say? Maybe they do that. Maybe people down under's got more. Or maybe Peggy does. Peggy says, yeah. Okay, let's go. Yeah. Let's go back to our Aries in Australia. She won't say yeah. Yeah.
Aries in Oz, an Aries in Oz.
Aries in Oz.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm finding lately, this is possibly going off the subject, I don't know. I'm having very vivid dreams. But
Is that right?
I had one the other night, and I don't know if I felt like it wasn't a dream, and you probably think I'm a little bit whatever, but I felt like I had levitated lying in bed.
I don't
Is that
think I think it's totally normal. Sure.
You're talking to the
I've
right
never
people, Jane.
You got the
Oh my
right,
gosh,
you got
Claudia.
the right group.
It
Yes.
just was incredible because I can still sort of feel
Yeah.
what happened to my body. And it was like this. It was like what that was happening underneath me, this little
Look at you.
flickers all the way along on my back. And I remember thinking, I'm actually rising.
Wow.
And it wasn't like I was leaving my body was. It was just, anyway, so I just threw that in the
Remember,
mix because,
you're not a physical body.
yes, exactly. And I keep
We're
having,
not going to keep hiding that fact on this show. You know,
yeah, I love it.
suppressing it. If you want to think you're a physical body, you can change stations.
It was just the most magnificent
Of course it is.
feeling.
You're liberated.
Yeah, it was, and I feel like my connection to the spirit world or whatever it is, ancestors, is just so much stronger now, and I'm
That's
loving that.
wonderful. I had many
Absolutely
dreams
loving
for
it.
years of flying, effortlessly, just flying. Just picked myself up, whoosh, and I could only get about as high as a building, maybe a little bit above the building. Couldn't get any higher, but I could do it. I just flew all around effortlessly, and this went on for a long time. And I kept wondering, why isn't anybody else flying? And I would land next to people and say, "Come on, I show you." And I'd jump off the rooftop, ooh, and fly away. And I finally realized,
Stunning.
well, I finally realized it was me trying to show people what high astrology can do for them.
Yeah, no, it's good. I just, again, there's a sense of freedom of my mind, heart, soul, spirit at the moment.
Well, that's
It's lovely.
wonderful. Everybody's liberating. What's going on, Rick? Why is everybody going through so much liberation? Is it the Mars Uranus, I think?
Oh yeah, the Mars is energizing the light body of Uranus. There's a spiritual body, and sometimes it even activates the pain body. So you have people that are occasionally triggered by that, and it can create this desire for healing, but at the same time it's born out of pain sometimes. So there are some positive and negative manifestations, but there is a lot of change afoot, and it's electrical down to the soul.
Right.
Well, you
And
mean
that's why it's transforming with that
like people
Sun
going
Pluto.
through people going through radiation?
I mean, they might imagine it to be that way, you know, but I think it's more common to have those um strange physical tingling sensations that
Yeah.
Jane was describing,
Yeah.
and that idea of floating and exploring the dream world.
I mean,
Sun
everybody,
opposite Pluto, the underworld could be
right.
explored.
Take a look at this picture again. Where's the arrow pointing to?
Oh yeah,
Pointing to the eighth house. The eighth house is your ability to swim in the occult without being nervous. You know, even though I walk through the valley of death, you will protect me, etc. That's what this chart is. Look at that huge arrow pointing. I think this all waited. They all waited for that moon to get in Scorpio, and it waited for that Mars Uranus to be conjunct for the whole thing to happen. But you've got the Mars Uranus Jupiter at the top. You've got the Sun Venus opposite Pluto, T squared to Eris and to Chiron, and ping pong ball, billiard ball, all bouncing back. It all keeps bouncing to the moon in Aquarius in Scorpio. Now, one thing about this chart is ruled by Virgo. And the way you find the ruler of the chart is what planet rules Virgo. And in one way of speaking, Chiron does. The other way is Mercury. Well, in this aspect, you've got Chiron and Aries in the eighth house. So we need to think about that. What does Chiron and Aries in the eighth house mean? And I'm going to,
well, especially the chart ruler being posited into the eighth house.
exactly, and I'm going to introduce something before I give it to you, Rick. I found these in the dust in an old bag sitting somewhere. These are astro dice. There is one dice with 12 planets, one dice with 12 houses, and one dice with 12 signs. And I've done shows and readings with people, and you ask any question that you want to,
And boom.
and you roll these dice, and boy, does it really help you to brushing up your ability to translate. It's amazing. We should do that some night and have some questions and roll the dice. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just lost for a moment in the thought of those dice. But
You want to ask a question? What did I just ask you? How about we just do the dice on this overall chart?
yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
What is the central message of this chart through these dice?
Yeah, what do we need to see?
The North
And
Node.
I've got a set as well, so I'll do mine.
Yeah, wonderful. I tell you, they work better as you work with them and work with them. They get better and warmer. And I bought a brand new set. Didn't work. I gave them away. Went back to my old set and repainted the numbers. We got the North Node. I'll give this to Rick. The North Node in Pisces in the
Yeah.
5th house.
Ooh,
We got the
wow.
North Node in the 5th house in Pisces. What's that tell you, Rick?
It is our path to express ourselves with spiritual creativity. We have to envision a new world. And
I think Rick and I are going to start a new band.
we have to manifest what we are seeing.
The Ricks.
The Ricks will be the Ricks.
Rick squared. Rick
Square.
squared.
Oh boy.
Well,
Boy, she
If we
will
find
be-
a third Rick, we could be cubed.
oh,
There will be no stopping us.
please stop before you get squared. Okay, now what do you play an instrument, Rick?
No.
Well, we'll get you something to beat on, like spoons or your head or the wall. Some people I know use their elbow on the refrigerator.
Maybe an old washboard.
Well, this reminds me of a quote that is from Eckhart Tolle, which goes like this. The purpose of being alive in this body is not to be happy, but it's to be conscious. And I think that's what's happening, is that we're all becoming more and more conscious. Some of us,
That that brings a beautiful thought to mind from a conversation I had last night with my daughter. She's only just a few years past her first Saturn return, and she's been set upon contemplating difficult changes and feeling like it seems like you just get a little bit ahead and then you get another obstacle. And I said, look, the only constant in life is change. Astrologers always play the long game. I didn't share that with her, but that's what we do. We look at what the long-term changes
That's
are.
true. That's very true.
And we see how there's a pattern where they develop. They go in an order, they trigger things, and you can't have lesson 15 before you have lessons 1 to 14.
mm-hmm.
They make a shift. So that's why when you go through things, it's important to see, okay, what's been going on before this happened? That's what made me think, what did we see when Pluto entered Aquarius? This is all unfolding. That's global, cosmic change as we experience it.
Well, this chart tonight has knocked me for a loop. It's one for the record. This is one to put in cement. This is so unique and powerful. This is without a doubt a time period, a shift of eras. Laza used to call it a shift of eons. And that's what it is. So it shows that the future man who's upon us, who is us, is going to become more serious, is going to become much more Mars Uranus, which means explosive, impatient, and it also means I say I'm going to do it and I'm going to go do it. It's going to become almost immediate. It's almost like we say we're going to do it and it's done. This is extremely intuitively spontaneous. So I say I'm going to do it, it's done as soon as I said it. Okay. I noticed I was driving yesterday in a tremendous rain and in downpour wind, and I started to get concerned because the car was going woo, and I remembered my saying. We're gonna end with this here tonight. I remembered my saying, because I've been preaching it myself, is nothing untoward will happen to me today. Well, I was getting nervous, which means I was not trusting spirits. And as I was driving, I kept saying, nothing untoward will happen to me today. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I do not wish that for myself. I do not wish that for myself. And for all of you, I'll see you next week, and nothing untoward will happen to all of you. Please put your focus on Monday morning. Do not be surprised if you can't sleep Saturday or Sunday night. Don't be surprised. Get up and take notes. But I love y'all, and I'll see you on next Thursday. We'll go from there.
Yes, everybody.
See you, everyone. See you,
Bye-bye.
Claudia.
Love and many
Bye.
blessings, everyone.
Good night,
See you,
everybody.
gang.
Good night.
Lovely to see you all.